All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tyler King, the college sports reporter for the Denver Gazette, and we are on to week two for the Colorado Buffaloes, and doing things a little bit differently for this week's game preview. Normally, like to have someone who covers the other team on to really dive deep into the game, but considering it is Delaware and they're newly promoted to the FBS program. Yeah, had a lot of success in the FCS over the last 2 decades or so. But we're really just kind of focusing on the Buffs this week after last week's loss to Georgia Tech in the season opener. First time that Colorado was 0-1 in the Coach Prime era. And there's a lot to talk about with this Buffs team in particular, and a lot we're going to be watching for this week as they look to bounce back, get the first win of 2025, and really kind of springboard the rest of September, which is going to be a big month for this program. As you know, next week is the Big 12 opener at Houston, wrap up non-conference play with Wyoming in 2 weeks, and then after that, at the end of this month, right away, is the Big 12 home opener. Alamo Bowl rematch against BYU, which will be a massive game up at Folsom. But kind of going back to this week's game, got my good friend Jake Schwanitz from DNVR to preview this game. Jake, there are a lot of people that like to cover and talk about this Buffs team nowadays in the Coach Prime era, but you and I are the OGs. We sat next to each other every game of that 2022 season. It was both of our first seasons on the beat. Talked a lot of football, not always about the Buffs because that 2022 season was kind of rough. But
we had a lot of time to kill.
Yeah, we did have a lot of time to kill in the press box, but you and I are OGs on the beat at this point. So I appreciate you doing this, man.
Anytime, bro. Greatly appreciate having you. Appreciate the time we've spent the last 2 years, getting to know each other, just covering the team. One of the good guys on the beat, Mr. Tyler King. I'm honored, bro.
Yeah, it's we weren't traveling really during that 2022 season because it wasn't really worth it. But no, we've got to spend some time on the road the last couple of years, which has been fun, and we'll both be down in Houston next week, which will be a lot of fun as well. Just kind of give me your general takeaways from the season opener. I gave mine, in the post game video. I did immediately after the game. I picked Colorado to lose, and it kind of went as I expected. I expected Georgia Tech to kind of control the game on the ground. And even though I thought Colorado would lose, I didn't think it would say much about the rest of the season. I still think the Buffs have a chance to easily, make a bowl game and even be in contention in Big 12 play if things break their way. Just kind of what was your overall takeaway from that week one game?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because obviously, it's the big one right out the gate in the non-conference play, and they put a lot into that, right? Obviously, the team, when it came to preparation, this is a different animal than any other team you were going to play this year. So I felt honestly encouraged overall with a lot of things I saw. It's the best I've seen the running game in 3 years at Colorado. It's, the talent on the team is better than it has been in 3 years. The defensive line made some plays. Of course, you want to see them make more, get in the backfield more, and stop those runs before they even get started. But I was encouraged on some things on both sides of the ball. I thought the special teams were great. I don't think we're going to spend much time talking about them today, but that was greatly improved. So there's lots of things to work on for sure. There's lots of questions that still need to be answered and worked out. But overall, I felt encouraged that this is a good start, launching point for the Big 12 this season.
Yeah, I agree too. Like I thought Georgia Tech would be able to take a little bit of an early lead and just kind of use that ground game to keep the Buffs at bay a little bit. And if they're able to get more, even just another field goal, even off of those 3 early turnovers, 7 points off 3 turnovers is just not going to cut it. I think it's a very different game. And I think some of the defensive staff members this week are talking about that, just kind of like, man, if we're able to get some points off those early turnovers, maybe we're able to force Georgia Tech into being a little bit more uncomfortable offensively, which I think was ultimately the goal. Just not able to get that done. And you see that with Georgia Tech, ultimately getting over 300 rushing yards in the game. But just kind of looking forward to this week. Coach Prime announced earlier in the week on Tuesday that Julian Lewis will play this week at quarterback. You were the brave member to ask if he was going to start, and Coach Prime was not having that. Obviously, Kaidon Salter is likely going to start. And I don't think it's a surprise at all that Julian is going to play this week because you're hoping to get to a point in the game where Kaidon Salter can come out. He's built up enough of a lead. And if that doesn't happen, then you're probably turning to Julian Lewis anyway if it's a lot closer than expected. So it's just kind of a natural occurrence of events with JuJu expected to play this week. Just kind of what do you expect out of the young guy? I mean, he doesn't turn 18 till later this month. It'll be his first college action. All of the signs throughout fall camp were that he was trending toward being a guy that was really trending for. He could have been the starter easily. It was really neck and neck, and you could see the flashes throughout what he did in fall camp. Just kind of what are you expecting to see from him in his first real live college action here?
Yeah, I mean, look, so this is an interesting one for Julian, right? I mean, he played at Carrollton, top level of Georgia State football. Was doing that as a true freshman, leading his team, through the playoffs to state
Played
titles
against
and all
Caleb
that.
Downs in the title game and as a freshman. Yeah.
Exactly. So my point for this week is kind of like, well, I think Julian played against more talented football players in high school the last 2 years than he might face this Saturday. So I'm expecting, just really the whole scouting report from Julian. I'm expecting the arm to be live. I'm expecting to see more downfield shots out of him. Just stay on schedule. I really hope that that's what is preached to him and what he really emphasizes, staying on schedule, not taking sacks. Last week, there was only one sack that Kaidon took, and I think it was at the end of the game too. Probably the best, in terms of that department over the last 3 years as well. But you can't revert back to that. You have an offensive line that everyone feels good about. You finally have a running game. So stay on schedule, get the quick game going a bit. Obviously with Kaidon, that's something that isn't really just part of his game. So, can you, not to scare anyone, but can you kind of go back to last year a little bit to that offense, how they were able to use the talent at wide receiver to move them down the field. But now you've got a running game, a true running game to help you out. So I just hope he stays on schedule. Obviously, no mistakes, no turnovers, no sacks is ideal. But I just want to see the kid play, honestly. I don't really want to put too much on him. I just want to finally see him play.
Yeah, I'm eager to see him play too because I mean he's obviously the highest ranked high school recruit at quarterback Colorado has ever had, and he's on campus a year and a half early. This winter. I mean it's just really impressive everything he's done, kind of building to this point. Like you said, he's been playing at a high level since he was a freshman in high school in Georgia. With Kaidon Salter though too, I think like you said there were times where he was super impressive. I think everyone agrees, Coach Prime, Kaidon himself, all of us that cover the team agree that he could have used his legs more in the game. There are a couple just a little bit overthrown passes to maybe some shorter guys. And I think all that is just kind of working out the kinks and still getting used to playing with some of these guys that he's never really played with before. It's going to be a different style of offense depending on which guy is in the game this Saturday. But just kind of what would be a sign of improvement for you for Kaidon in terms of week to week, just kind of showing that progress as he gets used to this new look offense here?
I mean, yeah, clearly you'd want to see him hit some of those passes and be more on target in the passing game, but use your legs more. That's really what I want to see from Kaidon. Like, honestly, I'm hoping to see him hit close to 100 yards in this game. I feel like that's really something that will boost his confidence, boost the team's confidence in him, and boost the coach's confidence because, let's be real, that's why he was brought into Boulder. I mean, this running attack was dormant before he got here. They figured playing 11 on 11 with a true dual threat quarterback was going to help that. So, and I think that's really his ticket to staying on the field. Of course, throwing the football is going to matter. Of course, getting the receivers involved is going to matter. And I do think that, he will kind of rein it in a bit. I mean, I'm not going to, excuse too much of what we saw last week because I think he's a very experienced player. I think that we should have seen a little bit more out of him, but it was his first game in that environment. So I'll give a little bit of leeway there, but he's just got to be better throwing the ball. Just make better decisions too. I mean, I think that he just needs to take a step back and just honestly go out there, let it rip, man. Just make plays, do your thing, and then, we'll talk about whatever happens with the quarterbacks after. But he can kind of contain a lot of what's mounting right now when it comes to the quarterback conversation. If he just goes out there, runs, has a solid performance.
You mentioned hoping to see Kaidon get maybe up to 100 yards. I mean, Coach Prime hasn't had a guy reach over 100 yards, an individual player in a game. The team as a whole hasn't gotten above 200 during his tenure. I think this is the first real chance for that this week. Of the skill position guys, though, who do you think has to be involved in the game plan? We'll see. I'd kind of be surprised if Omarion Miller plays because you don't want to risk him this week, even if he could play. You're probably not going to want to risk him, but he's obviously a guy you want to get involved. But who are the other guys that you saw last week are like, okay, these have to be the go-to guys offensively, whether it's in the running back room or if it's tight end room or wide receivers? Who do you like on this offense that has to be a playmaker?
Well, we got to start with Michael Welch then. Keep him going. He really looked great to me, honestly, against Georgia Tech. And I think they took the ball out of his hands a little bit too much last week. I want them to feed that guy, man. Start to get his confidence ready now that he can be that guy. Get him 100-yard game so he has that under his belt so he knows he can do it when you go in to play, BYU, Iowa State, ASU, all those teams. On the outside, I think I want to get Sincere more involved. That's what I'd like to see. I mean, you got a clear height advantage over a lot of the corners you're going to play against. Let's use that, man. I mean, he really only one target I think he was credited with last week, and then he had the overthrow that went over his head from Kaidon, of course, in the end zone. So I wanted to see them use that, and then Draylon Miller too. I feel like this is a secret weapon, just kind of waiting to be unleashed with what he can do in the run game, pass game. The unique body type that he has for that position. We talk about the Debo comps a lot. Let's see some of that. So those three guys are really who I'm looking at. Going into this game, of course, without O.
Yeah, two of the guys that I would add, I really want to see more of DeKalen Taylor, track
Oh,
back.
of course, yes.
Yeah, he was leading receiver from the team out of the backfield. He only had one carry for 2 yards. I think your colleague over at DNVR, Scott Proctor, tweeted out that he had like 13 or 14 snaps. It was all he played in the opener.
Crazy.
I think that's got to be doubled at least. I like obviously Michael Welch. I want to see him as well, but I want to see DeKalen. I think he's a real weapon out of the backfield. And there were a couple times. I think him and both him and Simeon Price got kind of overthrown by Kaidon during the game. The other guy I wanted to mention was Zach Atkins too. I think you saw that on that touchdown drive to tie the game in the fourth quarter. He made a couple nice plays off those RPO style plays where you're just kind of getting him in space and letting him make plays, because I think he is a weapon out in space. The blocking is probably going to be a work in progress throughout the season, but I think he's a guy that is a unique weapon offensively that they haven't had the last couple of years. So those are the other two guys I would add, because I fully agree with you with Micah Draylon, who I was really surprised we didn't see as much of him. Sincere, like you said, especially in a game like this, could be a weapon with his just freak athleticism advantage that he has. But Draylon especially, just like you said, with all that he can do, you would expect more from him. Turning over to the defense, though, obviously the 3 turnovers in the first quarter was huge. None after that. A couple stops throughout the game, punts that they forced, but obviously giving up over 400 yards and over 300 on the ground is tough. Just kind of what are you looking for this defense to show that they're taking a step forward? Obviously against an inferior opponent this week, but what would be a sign of progress on that side of the ball?
They need to make more plays behind the line of scrimmage. I think, going back, I don't have the stats in front of me right now. It was 1, 2, or 3 tackles for a loss. It wasn't very many.
No sacks. Yeah, just like I think it was 2 tackles for loss. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, you got to get into the backfield. You got to stop plays before they even get started, because that's what it was with Georgia Tech. I mean, I think PFF broke it down. Haynes King, his rushing yards before contact was astronomical. Like they weren't even making contact anywhere near the line of scrimmage on some of those runs last weekend. So I need to see that. I'd like to see more speed out of the linebacker room, in particular Sean Myers, who, I think we are going to see a lot more of. Coach Hart talked about that earlier in the week. I want to see him out there. And I want to see someone in that, opposite of Carter in the safeties kind of take a hold of that position, because there was a lot of rotation there. And I thought Ben and Tawfiq both had their moments.
Yeah.
So I guess just being more tightened up. I mean, I'm really not going to be too critical on the defense after last weekend. I mean, it really was kind of just hold on and survive. They did stop Justice Haynes pretty well. It was just Haynes King in the quarterback run, which, going back over 12 months now, it's just been a thorn in the side for CU.
Yeah, I agree. Cornerback too wasn't as much of an issue as maybe you would have expected. Obviously, Georgia Tech wasn't throwing the ball as much. They were using the wide receivers in the run game more than anything, especially early. But yeah, like you said, I think the linebackers are going to be the position to watch this week. Obviously, Martavius French gets the 2 fumble recoveries early in the game, but I didn't think he did much kind of impacting the run. Reggie Hughes looks like he's got at least some burst, and that kind of something that jumped out to me, because I asked him about this the other day, was just like his sideline to sideline ability is something that can be a real weapon for this team. And yeah, like you said, I would like to see Sean Myers. It feels like he could be maybe like the Levante Bentley of this year's team, as a guy coming downhill and making plays in the run game that Levante kind of specialized in last year. Obviously, we saw DJ McKinney get the pick in week 1. I don't know if he's going to get thrown at too much to get as many opportunities throughout the season. But who are the big playmakers you feel like could be on this defense, whether it's the D-line or in that linebacker room or in the secondary? You mentioned, wanting kind of some more, whoever that second safety is to kind of solidify itself, in the coming weeks. Who are the guys that you think could be the big weapons for Rob Livingston? Because he likes, like he says, he likes to get guys shots and likes to get his guys in position to make plays.
I liked what I saw from Carter Stoutmeyer last weekend. I think he could have played better. Clearly, I think a lot of players could have played better, but for the flashes that we saw from Carter, I mean, look, he's a couple inches away from making a massive interception. It would have been Colorado's 4th turnover of the game, and it would have been way later in the game. It would have been in that first quarter kind of run, and I think that could have totally changed things for them. So he made a lot of touchdown-saving tackles. I think he's a weapon for this team. He's kind of manning that, one-man high, kind of deep end type of stuff right now. We'll see exactly how versatile he gets, but I loved what I saw out of him. I think he can be a real problem. I want to see more out of these edge rushers as well, and the defensive line, really. Jaheim Otis, I thought he had some impact plays last week, and I think he's someone that needs more playing time. I was honestly kind of blown away by Brandon Davis-Swain.
Yeah,
the strength
that was really surprising, but I mean, he looks the part at D tackle.
100%. That is not a redshirt freshman regular strength. That is just a future NFL type of strength for a player who was projected to be an edge. Now he's playing inside, so I think he can be a problem. I'd like to see more out of that edge room too. Quincy had a little bit of flashes. Arden a little bit quiet last weekend, but we've heard a lot about those guys over the last 2 years, really. I want to see more of that this weekend, and this could be a nice get-right opportunity.
Yeah, Arden was the guy I was a little bit disappointed with in week 1, just because we saw how good he was fitting the run last season. That was his specialty and kind of the reason he got on the field in the early part of last season. He had the pass rush stuff come on. He got some sacks late in the season, but he made his money early last year and being a run stop guy. Same for Sam Okunlola, who had a little bit more pass rush stuff early in the season, but I feel like both those guys are really solid run defenders. I think they'll have a little bit better week this season. Like you said, the D tackle room, we heard so much about Anquin Barnes kind of all off season with kind of shedding the weight, looking a little bit thinner and just kind of moving a little bit better. I'd like to see him have a big game, get in the backfield, like you said, make some of those plays. So let's get right into predictions, man. Who are your kind of players to watch? Maybe one on both sides of the ball for the Buffs, and then what do you got for a score here?
I mean, man, you had a really good pick into Kalen Taylor. I'm going to follow that up. And just because we didn't see them get involved too much, I want to see more out of Draylon. I don't care where it is, in the backfield or at wide receiver. He needs the ball more. He only had, 2 targets last weekend? Like, that's just got to change.
He had one carry that kind of got stuffed for a big loss,
Yeah, like that's just got to change. He's clearly one of your best players. I think this is they're going to see this game as an opportunity, of course, with the quarterbacks, but to get Draylon more involved, to further solidify his role, whatever it may be, down the line here. Defensively, I'll throw out Sean Myers, man. Keep an eye on him. I think that, he was a late ad, right? I think it was like early June when he officially signed on and joined the team. So he's only been there a couple months, and we've seen this trend the last couple of months of guys, especially in that linebacker room, joining late. And it takes them.
Nikai Hill-Green was that guy last year,
but it only takes them usually one extra week. So we'll see if this is the same case with Sean Myers. But I mean, the speed that he brought to the defense last week, I think that's just a real X factor, and it's something that, especially against a team like Delaware, that can be totally put on display.
Yeah, my guy on offense, I'm going to go with Michael Welch. I think he's going to be the MVP of this game. I actually do think he's the first 100-yard rusher, and I think the Buffs are going to get over 200 yards as a team for the first time in the Coach Prime era. I just love watching Michael Welch run. I mean, he bounced off a guy for that big run he had on that first drive. I think he's going to get a couple big chunk plays, and I think he's going to get at least one touchdown in this game too. And then defensively, I am going to go with Quincy Wiggins, defensive end, because I want to see more from the edge group too. And I just loved what I saw from him in the preseason. It felt like it could be a breakout season for him. And I feel like this could be maybe a multi-sack game for him. The defensive line is doing well on early downs, stopping the run and forcing Delaware into 3rd and long situations. And then I think Quincy Wiggins, just the athletic freak that he is, will just be able to get in the backfield and get a couple sacks in this one. So I forgot to ask, what's your score prediction as well?
Oh, shoot, man.
Buffs are 23.5-point favorites. So I think that's what it was at least yesterday. I'm not sure if the line moved at all, but I think that's pretty appropriate after what we saw from each team in week 1.
Give me 38-7.
I'm going to go 42-17 Colorado. I think Delaware gets a couple late scores kind of with all the backups in and stuff, but I think we're going to be impressed with what we see. And, everyone's going to quickly forget about what happened against Georgia Tech. Like you said, that was probably the toughest opener they've had, over the last during the Coach Prime era. Even considering going at TCU a couple of years ago, I think Georgia Tech is a really, really good team, and I think the Buffs are going to prove to be a pretty good team in the Big 12 as well going forward. So appreciate you doing this, man. Make sure to check out everything Jake's doing over at DNVR. Those guys are live every day at 2:30 doing the shows. You guys will have that pregame show tomorrow, so make sure to go check that out. And thanks for doing this, man. I'll see you on Saturday.
Anytime, brother. We'll make it happen. We'll get you in the bar too and get you on the show. I know it's long overdue, so we'll make it happen, and we'll keep this going.
Absolutely, man. I'm in the neighborhood here in Denver. I've been there a couple times before, hanging out with some of the Nuggets guys during the playoff run. So it's you guys have a lot of fun doing what you guys do, and I always enjoy. I'm a little bit envious sometimes with how much fun you guys get to have with what you guys do.
Hey, we appreciate it. We'll get you in on the fun, bro. Trust me, we'll get you
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it. All right, that'll do it from today's video. Appreciate Jake Schwanitz from DNVR for hopping on again to preview this week 2 game against Delaware. I'll have full coverage leading up to the game in Saturday's Denver Gazette. Covering all the storylines, getting my prediction in there as well with some players to watch and all the typical game day content we have in the Denver Gazette. And stay tuned for tomorrow. I'm going to have a video with Kevin Lytle of the Coloradoan talking a little bit about CSU after their season opener. They lost to Washington, but some encouraging signs of the Rams in that one. And we're going to talk about their home opener against Northern Colorado, which is also this Saturday, and everything to come for them the rest of September. So thanks again for watching. Subscribe to the channel. If you guys are new, make sure to like, rate, subscribe, review, like, all that kind of stuff. Leave a comment is all super appreciated by me and helps out the channel. So appreciate everybody listening, and stay tuned for what's next.